Database scaling, horizontal versus vertical. What it mean by scaling when it comes to database? So let's assume that you have created one application and that application is very good. And because your application is good, your customers are increasing. And there is a one very simple rule. When your customers are increasing, it means the data which you are going to store, that will also increase. So when the data is also increasing over the time with your application, it means the DB server which you have created earlier for your application, that will also need some modification to handle this much kind of data which is going to increase over the time. So how we are going to handle these kind of situations, we are going to learn in this part with the system design. Okay, so without any delay, let's see what we are going to learn in this part. So first we will understand what is the vertical scaling. Then we are going to understand what is the horizontal scaling. Okay, then when to use vertical scaling, then when to use horizontal scaling. So we need to understand that what are these concepts and when to use these concepts when it comes to your application. Then vertical scaling strategies. Okay, now we understood what it is, when to use it, but what are the strategies which we need to follow to make it happen. Okay, so it is for the vertical one, then for the horizontal one, and then in the last we are going to see the system design interview quiz. So it's a very straightforward, and let's jump into the what is vertical scaling. Okay, so here we have this app layer, or it is the database server. What is this app layer? You can assume that it is your web server where your application is hosted, and this particular web layer will get the data from the load balancer. Like there is the consumer will send the traffic through the load balancer. This data will go to the web servers, and the web servers are the one which is connected to the database server. So what is the concept of scaling up? Means vertical scaling. Okay, so first of all, that you are sending the data, or you are requesting the data, or you are sending the processed data from web servers to your database server. That is the simple baseline app. And when it comes to scaling up, if you can see, okay, let me just enable the pen. Okay, so if you can see here, we have increased the size of database server. So earlier it had less core, it had less RAM, but right now when I scaled up, it become bigger. So what I mean by the vertical scaling is what I did, I just increased the specification of my server, which I was used earlier for my DB setup. So earlier it had only 500 GB of RAM. Right now it have this 1 TB of RAM. So it means that if my customer base increased, I need the more data to store. Then I have just increased the specification of my same server. Okay, so it is the simple concept of vertical scaling. Fine. Let's go for the horizontal one. Okay. So here is the concept of horizontal scaling. So again, we have this app layer, which is called the web server. Okay, so it is the web server, and it will send the traffic to the DB node. And what it will do, okay, let me just, okay. So what it will do, so earlier also we had the single DB node, which we increased when it comes to the vertical scaling. But what we will do in the horizontal scaling, we will just add one load balancer in between, and we add a similar DB nodes to the existing setup. So let's say it might be possible that whatever the node you are adding right now, it might have less specification than the original node. It completely based on the requirement you have. And in the earlier parts also, we saw that there was this load balancer which was placed between the DB nodes and the web server nodes, and this load balancer is that one. Okay, so it is the concept of scaling out in horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling, what we will do, we add similar nodes or other nodes to the existing setup to increase the space, to increase the RAM. And for the vertical scaling, we just increase the specification of the same node. We do not need any other node, we just increase the specification. Okay, so here is the part of the horizontal scaling. Now let's move to the scenario. Okay, so when to use this vertical scaling? Best for early stage startups, MVPs, internal company tools, and low traffic apps. early stage startup. So if you are creating an application and you just need to create a minimum viable product to showcase that yes, you have an application and it is working, then at that time you are going to use the vertical scaling, because at that time in the initial state you have very less customers and you just need to show that okay, your application is working fine. Internal company, so let's say you are creating an application where the audience are limited, you are creating a tool which will be going to serve only 500 to 600 employees, or it might be 1000 to 5000 employees of a single company. Then again you know that your audience will be limited, so you can create a setup in a way so that it will work every time, and that will comes also under the vertical scaling, because you know that how much RAM or how much ROM I need to set up my DB server. Okay, so what is the big win? So if you do any vertical scaling, it means you do not need to change any code. All like because you are just using the servers. This you are using the URL of your DB server, and that particular DB URL will be intact. And all you are doing some hardware changes so that your code will be intact. There will be no any changes. The trade-off, single point of failure, you eventually hit a hardware ceiling when you cannot buy a bigger server. So everything when it comes to scale, uh, like this specification, there is a ceiling. Like you can only scale a system to, let's say, 128 core. That's a max. Uh, uh, you cannot increase that particular hardware anymore, because any because you because there are some limitation when it comes to hardware. So it is the ceiling that once you hit the ceiling, you cannot scale up. You cannot add more resources to it. So that is the trade-off. And also, if your application got failed, then the complete pipeline will be break. Okay. So now let's come to the next slide. That when to use this horizontal scaling. Okay. High availability, viral growth, millions of global user. So let's say you have some fluctuating users, or you know that this application will grow from 1000 to million or from million to billion, then this horizontal scaling is the best fit for you. The big win, no hardware ceiling, infinite scaling potential. So the hardware which is available in the market, like the biggest specification hardware, can be used multiple times. So it will provide you the scaling capacity of your specification. So there is no limitation when it comes to horizontal scaling. Okay. The trade-off, the distribution data problem. How do you keep three distinct server perfectly in sync? So let's say you are connected with DB node 1. You have saved some data into DB node 1, and the next time when the customer is coming, how you are going to get data from the DB server too, because a load balancer is there in between your web application and to your database server, and this load balancer can distribute the traffic to any DB server. So if DB1 had this user one details, and user one again tried to log in and try to fetch the data, then how this load balancer can make sure that okay, DB1 is only connected with the user one, because DB2 will simply reject it, that I do not have this. I think it's a new user. So that is the trade-off for which we need to work. Okay. So now vertical scaling strategies. It is simply straightforward. There is no anything special to it. All you are doing is just upgrade the CPU RAM or upgrade the NVMe SSD. That's it, nothing else. And so, oh, sorry, there is one more option, that is the software optimization, that you can do the optimization in your software like this Apple do every time when they release their new hardware or new phone or new laptop, because they have some limited RAM and disk size. So what they do, they optimize their operation. So this is also a way to do the vertical scaling, to accept the more load when it comes to your hardware. Okay, so one is the hardware upgrade and second is the software optimization. So when you do the software optimization, then it means that currently your setup is able to accept more data, but still there is a ceiling for it, that you cannot accept that you cannot think that I will optimize my software in a way that it will take any number of data, because otherwise, if it is possible, then every company in the earth, the data centers, they are still going to use only one simple CPU. Okay. Maximizing the box, that is for the vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling strategy. So there are two strategy to it. One is replica. So what you did is you have this DB and you have created two replica of it, replica 1 and replica 2. Now what will happen is, in place of sending traffic to only one DB, now you have two DBs and you can distribute the traffic between two. So in this way, your latency, your throughput will be intact, and your customers, even if they get increased, your DB server will not crash, and they will get the data in the same time. Okay. Sharding. What is this sharding? So sharding is something that you have distributed your database into multiple parts. So let's say this shard A contains the data from user 1 to user 1000, and this shard B contains the data from user 1001 to user 2000. So the next time when a user is going to try to access your application through the shard router, this particular traffic will be rerouted to the particular DB instance where this particular data is available for that user. So it is the strategy when it comes to the horizontal scaling for the database. Okay. So now this complete part is over, and we are at the system design interview quiz. So let's see whatever we have learned is valuable or not. Okay, so you have low users count, but your DB is hitting 90% CPU. What do you do? So if I have a low user count, then definitely I will go for the vertical scaling. Okay, vertical scaling or query optimization. Okay, fine. They both under they both comes under the vertical scaling. Sharding is massive over engineering here. Simply upgrade the server instance or add proper SQL indexes. Okay. You are building an e-commerce category like Amazon. Which scaling strategy is best? Horizontal. Why? This is read heavy app because there are multiple people who are just going. See, when it comes to Amazon, there are two kind of customers using it. One, who are seller, and second, who are actually buying the things from that Amazon. Sellers are less and buyers are more. So 95% of people who are going there as a buyer, they are just reading the static data. So you can put this static data into multiple servers, and these multiple servers can be used to handle the traffic, whatever present for your database. Okay, you are building a global messaging app like WhatsApp. Which scaling strategy is best? Again, the horizontal database sharding. This is a write heavy app. Read replicas won't help because all write must go to single primary DB, which will crash. You must shard data across multiple server. Okay, I guess we know what is this sharding. Now let's come to what is the biggest downside of horizontal scaling, specifically for the sharding. Okay, so the answer is you lose the ability to do simple SQL joins across the table if the data lives on the two different physical servers. Okay, so I guess we are clear, like whatever the things are there for the database scaling. And there is one more thing when it comes to vertical scaling optimization. That is, when it comes to DB, then we use this B tree index. Let me write it so that you will remember. Okay, so we use this B tree indexing. I think that you guys try to understand this. What is this B tree indexing? Because it will be used for your application at the initial state, not at the initial state, but it should be known to everyone. What it is, B tree index is a self-balancing tree data structure for a database. So what it will do, it will organize the data for fast retrieval and insertion and deletion. Okay. So I think like you guys should go and search for this B tree indexing, and it is really good. So, okay, that's it for this video. If you have any doubts or any question or any queries, please let me know into the comment section. I will definitely answer it. And if you like it, then please share it, subscribe it, and thanks for watching.